So before we start today's session, yesterday whatever I had taught you, we'll be having a quick session for the same, so as to understand how much you have grasped and what all concepts you may again revise on the same. Okay. So first we'll have the quiz because yesterday we didn't get time. So I have just unmuted you all. So anyways, you can speak up, but better like you can share your answers on the chat. So for question number 1, which of the following ABAP Workbench tool is used to create the data dictionary objects? Can anyone ping the answer? What should be the answer?
ABAP dictionary.
Yes, right. Not SE11. Someone told us. Sachin, it should be ABAP dictionary. I am asking from the conceptual point of view, not the T code. If I ask what is should be the T code, then it should be SE11. Is it clear, Sachin? Which of the following type categories exist in the ABAP dictionary? Second question, answers please. So Naresh is domain, Anand is domain. What about the others? Just see the question carefully. See, ABAP can be very confusing. Okay, which of the following type categories? I'm not asking type category also. So type categories exist in the ABAP dictionary. There can be more than one answer as well. So yesterday when I was showing you under data types, what were the 3 things that you found? Did you find any domains and table indexes there? Yes or no? No, right? You found only structures and table types, right? Yeah, so the answer is only structures and table types. Don't get into domains because domains doesn't come under your data type categories. In the type categories, you have only data. So see, the data type categories are those which can be used globally or can be used in your ABAP objects. Domain you cannot use in your ABAP programs and all. Domain will just be a part of your data elements. Okay, so it will be structures and table types only. SE11, if you go to your data types, there you will find only your structures, table types, and your, tell me the other thing, data element. So structures and table types only. So will you be able to set and release logs using data dictionary? If yes, how? Answers please. So if someone is saying yes, can anyone speak up and say how? Anyone out of you who has understood the concepts properly? Anyone can unmute yourself and speak up. Let's make it an interactive one, please. Anyone who wants to take it up? There's no issue if you go right or wrong. It's all about learning. So let me randomly pick up anyone. Let's see. So Srishti, you want to speak up? Srishti, you want to speak up? Virendra, you want to speak up? Anyone? Ranjan, you want to speak up? Naresh, anyone?
Yeah, it's a log object. It's log object.
Yeah. With the help of
Who is this? Ranjan?
we can set and release logs.
No. Can you before you answer, just tell me your name.
Virendra here.
Okay, Naresh. So it's log object. I understood. So how? What will be the procedure of doing that? How? Log object is just a generic term. How? Okay, I'll just give you a hint. Tell me. Yesterday when I showed you log object, I showed you 2 objects which gets generated along with it, right?
Yeah, it's NQ and DQ.
The function modules, right? NQ and the DQ understand the log object name, right?
Yeah.
So the answer is like you need to use those 2 FMs prior to locking and after the locking is done to release the lock. Okay? Clear everyone? So which of the following technical information can be found in a domain? Answers of this one. So the answers you are telling, data type, output characteristics, field length. Yeah, this is the right answer. Apart from field labels, the technical information that can be found in a domain is data type, output characteristics, and field length. These three. Field labels will come as a part of your semantic description, which you take up under your data element. Data elements are based on domain or built-in types. Answer is true or false. Which one? True, right. Can database table include nested structure or table types? True or false? Yes or no? Tell me one thing, can a database table include nested structure or table types? Database table, it's not a structure, it's a database table. Yes or no? So Kaushik, in a structure, yes, but not, see, it's a database table. Just don't get confused. Can a database table, it's not a structure. Yeah, Srishti and Asit, right? It's no. So make it clear that a database table cannot include your nested structures or table types. It's only a simple flat structure. I'd already told you to note down that point. Please again reiterating the same. It's only a simple or a flat structure. A deep structure contains at least one table type. True or false? Okay, true. The name of a type group can contain maximum of how many characters? Yes, 5. Now this question, can a table fields have same domain and same semantic meaning? First answer up to this point. Can a table fields have same domain and same semantic meaning? Is it possible? It can have same. So suppose a table has got a field which is referring to a data element. Okay. Can that data element have the same description in both the places? Will it make sense?
Do you mean to ask like can two fields have same domain? Like can two data element can have same domain? Do you mean to ask
what
it?
I mean is, yes,
Okay.
what I mean is, suppose in a table, okay, so wait, just let me log in. I'll just show you from this aspect. So in a table, suppose a table has got 6 fields, okay, one field is city from, other field is city to. So in that city from and city to, both the semantic description will be different, right? But they can refer to the same domain, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, they can
Yeah.
refer to the same domain.
Yeah, so that is what I was asking.
Yeah.
I'll even show you.
So
Because
the table you told, the seat max and seats OCC field, they have the same domain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
As yesterday also I showed you, I created 2 data elements by referring same domain, right?
Yes.
So in that same way, if you see a lot of standard tables will be referring to the same domain, but the semantic description keeps on changing. Okay, so that's why when I was telling, when you go from bottom to up approach, whenever you touch any data dictionary objects in ABAP, be careful first to check all the dependent objects. Don't change it blindly. That is the main point. Okay. Now, second thing, the dash key is a combination of columns that uniquely identifies a data record. What should be the answer of this one? Yeah, Sheet, right. Primary. Yeah. Second thing, this determines the storage requirements and the access behavior of the database tables. Which one? Internal table types, technical settings, foreign key. Which one? So one answer, technical settings. Yeah, technical settings. Name the only custom objects that does not start with Z in SAP. Answer of this one? Yeah, lock object. Fine then. So we'll start with today's session. So the agenda that is planned for today is, we'll be seeing like as in understanding, even though yesterday I showed you how to create an ABAP report, but still I'll give you some more glimpses as to how to create your ABAP reports. First ABAP report. Second, what are the data types, variables, constants, operators and expressions that you use. We'll design a selection screen which acts as your first user interface with respect to user interaction, wherein you will be using radio buttons, check boxes, list box and all those things. Then we'll understand what are the different events that are involved in an ABAP reports which gets executed during the processing of your program. Then we'll also see the strings, text elements, concatenations, the different operations that we do as a part of your internal tables, which are like the heart and soul of your ABAP reports or ABAP objects. Then we'll see the different kind of select queries that we do to get the data from the database and certain conditional statements, and along with that we'll see some of the concepts of modularization. So today will be more of a lot of practical session, and in the mid also I'll give you certain time to practice on the same. So before we start, any of you have any questions on yesterday's topics? We can take up 2-3 questions and then we move forward to today's topics. Any questions? Did you all, so just a question to all the freshers, did you all try, if anyone, you did not have any issue creating packages and TR and all, right? Any questions, any doubts? Anyone?
Yeah, I have one question here. See, when it comes to the structure, right? In case of nested structure, there can be any common field between the new structure that you are going to insert into the existing structure? Because when I try to insert one existing structure into the structure that I was defining using that include, then it was giving me an error message say that employee ID is already present in the parent structure. So is there any check? Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So see, no structure or a no database table can have the same field names, right? Or the same
Okay.
component names. So if you already have employee ID, suppose if you have added manually, and again if you try to insert, so obviously it will throw an error. No, the simple solution is either go like don't include that structure, or the easiest way out is the employee ID that you have created manually, you need to delete it.
Okay, okay. So that means between the parent structure and nested structure, it cannot have a common field. So that is the validation is there. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. You cannot have a common field whenever you are defining a database table or this thing. As a simple question, I'll just ask to everyone. I don't know whether you people tried or not. Can a database table be defined without any primary key? Is it feasible? Is it possible? Yes or no?
No.
A question to the open forum. Did anyone try? Just no, just saying no won't do. See, during this 5 weeks you have to do a lot of practical also. Did anyone try? Okay, Asit, you tried. So what did you see? What was your observation? Asit, can you share your observation? So I'll just tell you until the time speaks up. So if you just try to activate a database table without giving any kind of primary key, it will throw an error. At least you have to provide a primary key. At least you know you are adding mandate, right? Because I told we are mostly creating client dependent tables. So even if you provide mandate and give it a primary key, it will accept. But make it a habit that apart from mandate also, you need, while designing your database table, the decision of the primary key plays a very major role, specifically with your Z table. Why do I say this? Because see, since we have functionals and technical both here, so since functionals, when they give the requirement based on your primary key, the select queries and the data fetching matters a lot. So if you are not handling the primary key in a very valid and a feasible way, then you will keep on changing the structure of the table and your primary key and the table maintenance generation as well. So the table maintenance generation, again you have to do redo again and again. So you should make sure that whenever you are creating your database table, the selection of your primary key with respect to the logic that you are going to write, it should be handled in a very much proper and a feasible way. Syed, you are wrong. If there is no primary key, the database table will not allow. You have to provide a primary key. You can try out the same. Create a Z table. Do not provide any primary key. You will see the same. And create an application delivery class. Create a master data or a transactional table only. SM30, the table will not exist only when you are not creating a table maintenance generator. Yes, Ranjan, a table can have more than one primary key. See this question, why I asked you that other one, that primary key is a combination of unique key fields, right? So suppose while designing the table, if you feel that during my table I have to declare or decide 4 primary keys, you need to do the same. Why? You are getting the point, right? Primary key will give you a unique selection of records, so it depends whether a one will suffice your requirement or it can be more than one as well. And Ramakrishna, table indexes are not into picture anymore, as I told you yesterday, because earlier for fetching data and all we used to use indexes, but now indexes are out of picture. Second part, buffering comes into picture. What happens actually, whenever you are trying to fetch data from the database table, first of all, if you are enabling the buffering for that particular database table, so rather than hitting the database again and again, the data will be sometimes stored in your database buffer, which acts as an interface between your application server and the database server. The database buffer resides between that. So rather than again and again going to the database layer to get the data, we go to the database buffering. But now with since SAP HANA has come into picture, now buffering is not mandatory anymore. So you can, that's why yesterday when I told, even if you give buffering not required, it's not an issue. Is it clear, Ramakrishna? We don't need indexing because SAP HANA itself is a very big thing. SAP HANA itself, if you understand from a HANA developer perspective, that SAP HANA by itself, because of parallel columnar processing, it enables you to access the records much more faster as compared to any other database. So that's why we don't need any kind of indexing or any, even a lot of such other, like when I was talking about pooled and cluster tables and all yesterday, a lot of those tables has also been eliminated. A lot of things has been eliminated because of SAP HANA coming into picture. And Virendra, it's not compulsory to create a table maintenance generator. Table maintenance generator is only required if you want, if the requirement is to maintain entries from SM30 point of view. Okay, fine then. We'll start with the today's topics. I'm putting you all on lecture mode. Just a second, guys. Okay, so we'll first start with the creation of your first SAP program. Yesterday, even though we created the same, but still, so for your ABAP reports and any other reports that you want to create in your SAP system, the T code that you have available as a part of your ABAP repository is SE38. So SE38 is the T code that is available as a part of your ABAP repository for creation of ABAP reports. So we'll log into the system. Okay, so when you give SE38, this kind of screen will open up. Okay, now regarding the nomenclature of your program, one thing I don't know whether if you have seen or not. So suppose when yesterday when I gave this zdemo underscore type underscore pool, or leave this, will create a new one. So suppose zdemo, if I give hyphen and hello program, will it take this hyphen? Let's see. If I do display, does not exist. If I do create, see here, this hyphen it doesn't take. So as a part of your nomenclature, you should not provide hyphen. It only underscores, it only understands underscore. Okay. And second thing, since I am trying to create a custom program, so your nomenclature has to always start with either Z or Y. So you can take any of the one, either you can start with Z or you can take with Y. So one more thing that I wanted to show you yesterday, suppose whenever you are giving a T code, here if you see, here also you can check what transaction you are particularly at that time on the screen. So you suppose, since I am on SC38, so if you just click on this status bar on this down arrow, you will be able to see what is the transaction that you are using currently. Okay, now Z demo underscore hello program. One more thing, if I remove this Z and just give demo underscore hello underscore program, if I do create, this will ask object can be only created in SAP package, because if you don't provide Z or Y, it starts understanding that you are trying to create something as a part of your standard object. So until and unless it's a requirement wherein you have got some notes or some release patches are there, wherein you are doing certain activity under certain guidance or someone's requirement wherein you need to create standard objects. Apart from that, never create any standard objects and use the proper nomenclature starting with Z only. So Z demo underscore hello underscore program. Now done. Now when I click on create, it shows me this screen. So you have to provide a proper title or a description for the same. So I'll just say hello program. Now here, very important, the type of the program. So now today I'll be showing you executable and the include program, and module pool will be seeing as a part later, and the function group. So yesterday, if you would have seen the table which I created, wait, just let me open the new screen. Can anyone tell me what was the name of the table which I created yesterday? Or I think I'll get it here. What was the name of the table that we created yesterday? Z cargo, right? So can you see Z cargo? Okay, for this Z cargo, if I go to the master program, okay, if I go to the master program and you go to click on this go to attributes, okay, so you see all the details here. The function group, this was generated as a function group, right? This was generated as a function group because while generating the TMG, I had given it as a function group. Now if you see here in the types, function group, module pool, include program, executable program. Module pool we'll see later. Today at the end I'll show you include program as well. Now this is a standalone program. So if I give executable program, that means that this is a program which will be executed independently. Second point, include program cannot be executed independently. I'll show it to you in later, but as of now, since I am creating a program which needs to be executed independently and it's a report which I am creating, so you need to provide the type as executable program, okay, and then click on save. Now yesterday I created a package, so if you want you can assign it a package. If you don't want, you can assign it as a local object also. So suppose I want to assign it as a package, so ztest asterisk, I don't remember the package suppose, so ztest asterisk and F4. So ztest underscore anyone I'll suppose if I take this one, ztest package, okay, and I save here. Automatically, since that package is assigned to that TR, so what happens, that package already we have assigned it in a TR, right? So if you see here, again I'll open the T code for the transport request /SE01 and go here. Now see this, another task gets created. This is what I was telling you yesterday. Since my package was already locked in this TR, so it asked me for a TR, and I knew that I want to capture everything under this TR only. So that's why I selected OK after this TR popped up. If you want to change at that stage, that you don't want to assign it to that TR, you want to provide it to a different TR, at that stage you can either create a new TR or come here, create a new TR and assign the same. Now since this task was already released, so that's why it did not go and sit under this task, because the release task, once you release a task, you cannot do anything back with that. So that's why it created a new task for the same, and the program got captured under this new task. Now coming here, so report. So first of all, the first keyword that you see under a report is, it will be report. Okay, it will be report and then your report name. Okay, now once you have given your report and report name, after here your main logic starts. That is the main logic that you intend to write as a part of your report program. Second, if you want to provide any kind of data object which you tend to use locally as a part of your program, you need to use the keyword data or types. First I'll show you by using the keyword data. So data, once you have provided data, then the variable name that you want to assign. Suppose I use a variable name hello and I give the type. It should be of what type? Okay, so hello, I want that it should be of type string. Fine. Then I want to declare any other variable called my name. Now if you want to declare this as of type C of length 20, so you can do it via two ways: type C then length 20. But who's going to write this? I don't write this, so I'll show you other way. My name in brackets the length that you want to specify, space, type, and then C. Okay, now this is done. Similarly, I want to define a variable which will be of type date. So the standard elementary data type which SAP provides is D. So today type D. Then again I want to write another variable char today which will be of length 10 and type C. Okay, now my data object declaration along that is the variables, these are the data objects which I have declared, and these are the types which it is referring to. Once this is done, now my declaration is done. Now I will start with the main coding. Suppose to this hello, as in this variable, I want to assign the value hello world. Okay, so here anything you want to write within quotes in SAP, it should be within double quotes. If you want to write double quotes, what does it mean? That double quotes means that that line after that part is commented. So let me show you. Suppose if I want to assign any value to this one, so hello world. Okay, hello world. Now suppose if I provide any double quote here, this means that this part has been commented, this part will not be executed anymore. So whenever you want to provide something as a part of your character, it needs to be provided under single quotes only. Okay, Nirmit, just a request, don't keep on asking questions. I'll be covering this, then later on you can ask questions, otherwise my flow breaks up. Kindly hold on your questions. Anyways, we are having discussion, at that time you can ask. Okay, then once hello world, because what happens is then it breaks my flow. Okay, after this I want to, suppose hello world I provided, now I want to assign other value to the other variable, that is my name. Suppose hello world, I take any name, suppose Mike. Okay, this is the name, and after every termination of a statement in ABAP, a period is mandatory. After every termination of a statement in ABAP, a period is mandatory. Second point, since I wanted to do a declaration of all these variables at one go, there were two ways. Either I could have terminated this statement here, then again written data, this. Second point, if you give this colon, it means it can have chaining expressions. So here, hello, one data object which is of type this, comma, this data object which is of type this. So since I wanted to do multiple declarations, I can use comma and provide the data type, and at the end I provide the termination of the same by using a period. Second thing, the date that I have provided here, today type D. By default the date format in SAP is YYYY-MM-DD. If you want to change to any date format, you need to manipulate the same by writing logic. The date format that SAP understands is YYYYY mm-dd, as in the backend it will save it in this format in the database. In the database, the data gets stored in YYYY mmdd format. Okay, YYYY mmdd format. And when you see the date format as a part of your output, it will be dd.mm.yyyy. So in the output, in the presentation layer, you will see this in the format dd.mm.yyyy, but in the database it gets saved as YYYY mmdd. It's a very important point which you should always make a note of, because a lot of date manipulation you need to do. So to handle that, you need to understand how it gets saved in the database, and since SAP converts that to this format while showing it as a part of output in your presentation server. So now there are certain system variables which you can make use to assign certain values. So if you want to see, just a control and space after psi hyphen. Okay, so see, a lot of system variables are there, a lot. If you want to understand about anything, suppose I want to get the current system date. Okay, just put your cursor here, ABAP system field, current date of the application server. So then select this and done. So I am assigning the current system date to this variable called today. Okay, the current application server date. And as I told, the format of this will be YYYY mm and dd. Now what I'll do, now we'll just first print the same and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so what I'll do first, for printing anything, we'll use the keyword write. Then suppose I want to print this today, this today. Okay, the system date that you have, that today, and I'll show you how it is coming right today. Okay, and again I'll print right. So hello. Okay, this one, hello, then comma, because I don't want to terminate it, and I need to print other things as well. So while printing, if you want to specify something as a part of your character literal, then my name is, okay, then again comma. So what is my name? My name is my name, this variable. Okay, then again a comma, then again a new line. For a new line, I'll provide this slash. This means that it's a new line. Again a start will happen, and then the printing will take place. So today is today is, okay, then again a comma, and suppose if I write today. So first I'll show you the output of this part. Okay, so to comment this part, just select control and your comma. Control and comma is for commenting, control and period is for uncommenting. Just do control and comma, we have commented this part. Now that I want to first execute this report, do a shift and F1 to do a pretty printer. If you are not able to format this, go to utilities, go to settings, go to pretty printer. This should be your configuration to format or indent your codes. Indent should be checked. Convert upper or lowercase as you need. I normally keep all my keywords in the uppercase, and rest I don't do any kind of settings. Okay, and enter. Now once you have done the formatting, control and F2 to just do a syntax check, and control and F3 to activate the same. Once your code is activated, execute the same. Can you see here? dd mm yyyy. This is your output. dd mm yyyy. This is your output. Now suppose if I uncomment this and let's see the output. I uncomment this and I comment this part. Okay, so if you have done any changes and if you just click on activate, it will say that it has been inactive or has been changed. So remember, whenever you make any changes, never forget to activate your code. Activate your code and do execute. So get used to shortcuts, do F8 and your code will be executed. See here, hello world, my name is Mike and today is this date. Why did the today come in a new line? Because as I told you, I am using this slash as the new line operator to distinguish it. Okay, So that's why my hello world, this was that this variable, see here, hello, then my name is, and then again the variable that I used, and then new line today is, and then the date dd mm yy format. Now one thing, suppose what I want to do is that I don't want to print it in this format YYYYMMDD. Okay, I want to change the format, so I'll show you a small trick. Suppose what I do here, I add a line of code, write, okay, write today to, I declared one more variable, right, char today. So do a control space, char today comes, okay, then do a shift and F1. Now I did char today, right? Now I'll show you write today and write, then again this thing colon and char, control and space, char today. Now I'll do shift and F1. Now again I'll comment this part of code just to show you the difference of these two. Then again control and F3 to activate the same, and then again do an F8. Now can you see this difference? Can you see the difference? See this difference. This way you can format and manipulation the output. So when you were, so as a part of your coding, as I told you, to handle this date, we will even, I'll make you understand from debugging perspective also. First I just understand. So what I did, this char today was of type C, right, and this D is of type dates. Okay, if you want to see, this type is of D dates, right? When I did side datum, as I told you, this is of system date of the current application server YYYYMMDD. But when I am assigning this to today, this today is also of type D of the same type, right? Now when I am writing this today to char today, what happens? Though this date manipulation is in YYYYMMDD, what did I tell you? In the output in the presentation server, it comes as a format of dd.mm.yyyy as a part of your presentation layer. So if you want to handle the output in this layer, that's why I am passing this value today to this char today here, which is of type C. And why have I given 10? Can anyone answer me? Why did I specify the length of the 10 when it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Why did I specify the length as 10? Can anyone answer? Yes, right, Kaushik. Because of those two dots, 9 and 10, and since it's a char type, I have given it as of type 10. So now if I make this to char today, okay, and I uncomment the same and I comment these two and activate the code, okay, and now if I do F8, see here also it will be changed. So remember this, keep this code ready whenever you need to manipulate a date and your internally SAP is not able to do it. This line of code will come handy to format your date from this format to the required this format, and you may see a lot of this code in the earlier codes as well. So this line of code becomes very handy. So up to this point, is it clear, guys? The data object assignment, how to assign the values. So if you put it less than 10, see here, just I'll make it 9, okay, just I'll make it 1 less. I'll show you what happens. Anyone? What will happen if I make it less than 9? Anyone, if I want to make it less than 9? See, what will happen? See here. If you make it less than 9, see, 18/10/2020, the dot went. Can you see? It will not be able to accommodate the dots because it needs to accommodate, if you want to accommodate the entire length of this, the dot will disappear. Can you see what happened when I gave this char today as 9, and if you activate and execute the same, now again if I suppose make it 7, example, if I make it 7 now and activate the same, and if you do F8, now the data truncation will start happening, because you have given the length which is less than the total length required. Now if I make it 8 and activate the same, then the dots will not be accommodated. If you make it 9, still it will not be accommodated. If you make it 10, then only it will be accommodated. Virendra, if you want to do the date formatting instead of this with that char 10, then what you need to do, you need to handle it with the logic of substring. So char is YYYY, this first 4 characters you need to concatenate with a slash, and then slash. When I explain you the concept of concatenation, then you can understand how to handle that. Any other kind of date formatting, you need to write logic by making use of concatenation or substring. Got the point, Virendra? As I told Namita, any kind of other date formatting, I wrote this just to convert to dd.mm.yyyy. If you want slash and all other things, you need to make use of substring and concatenation. I'll show you then when we use this concept of concatenation. Aditya, whenever we need system fields, you need to make use of side item. Suppose a requirement is that that you want to check a particular whether it is being called from a particular T code or not. So I'll just give a small brief. What are the commonly used the transactions? So side T code gives you the current system T code. Okay, I'll just execute this. Suppose I'll put a breakpoint here. Debugger I'll explain in detail. I'm just showing you just because you asked me. Debugger I'll show in detail during day 3. Yes, day 3, next day. Debugger I'll show you in detail. So suppose now if I click on execute the same in debugger, and I want to show you what is the current T code that is being used. See here, the side T code shows you the current T code of the same. Okay, so here, where did it go? Side item. So side item and sci use it. Okay, sci u z e I t. Even if you want to check, do one thing, just remove this sci underscore, just do a control and space and scroll down. See here, w QRST U line use IT. Just put your cursor here. ABAP system field current time. Sci uname the current system user name. Sci ucom the current user action. So whatever you want to see will get all the details here. You can explore through this. If you want to see the current program name, SY REPID, it will give you the current program name. See here, this gives you the current program name. Okay. Similarly, your if you want to see the current T code which is being used, suppose if you get a requirement wherein you want to restrict that below logic if it is called from a certain T code. We get a lot of requirements. Suppose that there are 20 lines of code. You don't want this 20 lines of code to be executed if it is called from a T code called ZXXXYYYY. So I'll write if sci T code equals to ZXXXYYYY. Sorry, not equals to this, then only execute this line of code. So this sci use IT, sci T code, sci uname, these are all the commonly used system fields. Commonly used system fields whenever we are doing our ABAP reporting. The system fields and all are your very commonly used. Side item, sci use IT, date, time, T code, username. These are the very commonly used system fields. Is it clear, Aditya? Okay. Just a second. Now I'll be showing you certain operators and expressions, the arithmetic expression that you use as a part of your ABAP reporting, which comes in very handy. I'll just comment out the same. Okay, so now I showed you from data to declare the data object, right? The other way you can declare the data object is by making use of types. Okay, types. Suppose I want to declare a types called LOC underscore DEC, and I want to declare the other operands based on this type. So one simple question to you: what was the other way to create a global local data type? What was the other way that we saw yesterday to create a global local data type? What was the other way? Can anybody answer? Yuppie pool. What is yuppie pool? Okay, type pool. Ravi, not domain. Again, you are confusing on the same. Domains we never use in ABAP reporting for any kind of declaration. It is either data elements or we can go with type pool, but type pool is for local thing, no domain. Okay, fine. So types. So with the help of types, you can also create your data object, which will be locally to your this objects only. It cannot be used globally. Okay. Now types LOC underscore DEC, then your type, I'll give the type as I, so integer type. Okay. Now based on this type, I want to create other data objects. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll create data. Fine. I want to create the other data objects based on this type. So operand 1 type LOC underscore DEC. Okay. Then suppose I want to assign a value as well. So value and then 8. Suppose I want to assign the value as 8 for this one. Okay. Now operand 2 type LOC underscore DEC value. Okay. 4. Fine. Now I want to store the result in type. Directly I'll assign a type I. Okay. Fine. Now I'll do shift and F1 again. See, automatically my data formatting will happen. You don't need to bother about the same. Then result equals to, what I'll do, I'll use the arithmetic operation plus operand 1 plus operand 2. Okay. Now similarly, if you have plus, you can provide multiplication, addition, subtraction and division. Okay, so now I'll show you one by one the result of the same. So suppose this is my, now I want to do write and result. Okay, now do a shift and F1. Again make it a habit of do control and F. See, normally I don't do control and F2, control and F3. Now see, errors came. Let us see also analyze how to handle errors also. Suppose if you click on activate, still I bypass the error. Okay, now see, the error is the field operand 1 is unknown, but there is a field with the operand 1. So what I have obviously done some mistake, right? Here I have not given operand 1. Okay, now do shift and F1. Normally if you can habit of doing control and F2 and control and F3, but I do always have a habit of control and F3 because your check and activate also happens at the same time. Okay, so I do control and F3. Now I'll execute, so it will give me the result as 12. Now suppose I want to do a multiplication operator on the same. So in ABAP, if you want to copy the same line below, you put the cursor here and press Ctrl and D. Automatically the line gets copied. Okay, Control and, now instead of plus, I'll provide multiplication. I'll comment the same. I'll activate the same and I'll do an F8. So can you see the multiplication came? Fine. Now instead of this, I again Control and D. Instead of plus, we saw subtract, we saw addition, which saw multiplication. Now let's see if I divide the same, what happens. If I divide the same, 8 divided by 4 is 2, right? Suppose now if I change the value to 10. Now if I change the value to 10, just a second, I think the system, what happened to the system? Oh, by mistake I had clicked on F1, sorry. So I provide 10 and 4. Okay, now I activate the same. Now let's see, if you do 10 divided by 4, now guys, tell me why did the answer come as 3? Why did the answer come as 3? Any guesses? 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. Why did the answer come as 3? Yes, right. Because here I have given the type as I. Okay. Now suppose if I make it 9. Suppose if I make it 9 here. Suppose if I make it 9 here. Okay. And do control and F3. And if I do F8. Can you see the answer is coming as 2. So the point that you need to understand is whenever you are doing a division operator, and the data type plays a very major role in handling your data output. Otherwise your result will vary a lot. The first point which you need to make a note of. Second, if you are doing in type I, then seal and floor concept comes into picture. So if it will be less than 2.5, then automatically it will be rounded to the lowest value. If it will be more than 2.5, it will be rounded to the highest value with respect to I integer data type. Okay, so that's why when I am using 9 divided by 4, which is 2.25, floor is happening and the answer is 2. When I am dividing 10 divided by 4, 2.5, seal happens and the answer is 3. So you just make a note of this 3 points, that the first important point is that this type, whatever type you are giving, this type plays a very major role whenever you are doing division specifically, because otherwise your output is going to be changed. Okay. Now plus minus. So similarly we saw plus minus is also there. Other operator is called mod. Okay. So I'll do control and D. This seal and floor is not required for this. And now I'll do a mod here. MOD. What will the mod do? Let me show you. Mod will basically give you the remainder of the same. So 9 divided by 4, the remainder is 1. Hence you get the remainder as 1 only. So these are the very basic arithmetic operations that we normally use in our ABAP programs. So arithmetic expressions. Fine. So up to this, any query with the initial part that we did and now this arithmetic expressions? So LOC underscore DEC, just it's a local type which I created, and I wanted to use this type to declare my other objects. If you see, this is my data object of type LOC underscore DEC. So this is the local data type that I created, and I wanted to use the other data objects based on this local data type. Okay. So Syed, anyways, even when I had uncommented the same, it's always the last execution the result will come. So if I show you, I'll just do F8, the output will be 1 only, because it gets replaced with the last executable line of code. Nothing. If it's a keyword which is there existing in your ABAP repository, whenever you type, automatically it will come. Just do a tab. If you do a tab, automatically that word will be completed. Second, if you want to writing something in this operands you are using, just do a control and space. When you are using I Naresh, otherwise the seal and floor will not come. Say normally for division you will be either using F floating point variable or decimals. Okay, the F, either F or P. Yesterday I had showed you packed and FP. So if you see here, these are the ABAP data types. I'll just do maximize the same so that you can understand. See the data types that we have in ABAP. There are certain predefined data types and the other ones are the user defined data types. Okay, in the predefined data types we have got the fixed size data types and the variant size data types. So fixed size means that they have a size of the same, and variant size means we don't provide any size for the same. Okay, so if you see string and X string, we do not need to provide any length. If you see, when I am giving type C, I am specifying a length. I has got its own type as 4 bytes. Okay, so the fixed size, if you see the hexadecimal data type X, For the numeric ones, we have I as the integer, F and P floating point handles the decimal data types. The decimal values, if you want to store, you need to store it under F and P. Integer is of 4 bytes, F and P is of 8 bytes. Then coming to your character data types, that is C, N, D and T. D, date, as I told you, 8 bytes, Y, 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 MM and DD. Similarly, if you give T for time, 6 bytes, HH, MM and SS. Okay. N is the number in the form of characters, that is the numchar, and C is the character which is 1 byte. And as we discussed yesterday, when you want to create your own user defined data types, as we created structures and types and so on. So we just now saw by making use of types statement that I can create my own local user defined data type. And structure, as we had seen yesterday, you can either create via SE11 ABAP data dictionary, or we'll also see how to create a local defined structure to use it for your runtime execution of your program. So this, please make a note of. Anyways, you will get this PPT. This will be very handy whenever you are confused about the data types. Okay. Yeah, we are declaring, no Sayyid, see here. We are declared data types in C only. I did not get your question. This was in type C. What? I did not get your question. What can we declare as in? Sayyid, we have declared data types in C. What? I did not get your question. Why do you want to do arithmetic calculation with a character data type? Character is for string. You want to do a arithmetic calculation, and if you are giving a character data type, how does it make sense? Yeah, see, variables must always be declared before using it, because if you don't declare a variable, you will get a runtime error. Suppose if I don't declare this operand 2, okay, now you want to see, I'll not declare this operand 2, okay, and now I'll try to activate it. Now see what will happen. I'll click on edit. The field operand 2 is unknown. You will get an error. It will not be able to understand it. During runtime, the ABAP object is not able to understand that there is anything called operand 2. That is the reason. Got the point, Asit? So the ABAP interpreter is not able to interpret that there is something called operand 2, and that's why during compilation it throws an error. Up to this point, is it clear, right? We can move further. Yes, I am creating my own local user defined data type, and then I am using this same to create the data objects which will be referring to this user defined local data type. Refer to this diagram. See, just refer to this diagram, you will get the picture. User defined data type types, okay, first point here. Now come here, I am creating my own user defined data type. I'll just add a comment here, user defined data type. Now I'm using this own user defined data type. If you see here, data object type a data type. So instead of the standard data type, I'll use the local user defined data type. That's it. That is the only difference. So Ranjan, when you are creating a lot of ABAP reports, normally why I made you understand this will come very handy when we will create our local structures. So just answer me, when I'm creating a local structure, okay, when I'm creating a local structure, you don't have a particular output format for the same. You have to create the structure, how it will look like, what all components it will have. So you have to create your own local structure by the help of types, and then any object that you want to refer to that structure, you have to give type that structure. That's where the types will be very much useful at that point. Okay, now let's move forward. So as I was telling you, while doing your ABAP programming, you need to use a variety of variables to store certain various information, and that's where your variables come handy, which are nothing but basically your reserved memory locations to store these values. So you need to store a lot of information of different other various data types like your character, integer, floating point, etc. And based on the data type of a variable, the operating system allocates memory and decides what can be stored in that reserved memory. Okay, so yesterday we saw how to create global data types by using the data dictionary, as in the data elements and structures, and through your reports you can create your own data types. And till now we also saw like how to create arithmetic expressions and all. Fine. Now after the arithmetic expressions, I'll show you how to create a structure with a local data type, which I was telling just now. Okay, which I was telling just now. I'll show you how to create a structure with a local data type. So structure data object with local data type. Okay, now when you want to create a structure, a local structure, what you need to do, just give me a second, I'll put the laptop on charge. Okay, so when you want to create a local structure, how do you do is types. Okay, after types we give begin of. Okay, now begin of any variable name you can give. So suppose ty underscore person. So for a person I'll give his name, age and country. Okay, so name suppose 23, then type C. Type C. Okay, now suppose age will be of integer type. So age type I. Okay, now after the age is provided, I'll give the country. So country. Okay, now for the country I'll give the length as suppose 10. Now country 10. If I don't give any type also, no, by default the type is C. In ABAP by default the data type is character, and if you don't specify any length, by default the length is 1. Make a note of this. By default, if I don't provide any data type, by default the type is C, and if you don't provide any length, by default the length is 1 of type C. Okay, if you want to see, do a shift and F1 of the same and do a control and F2. Now why the error is coming? Because you have given begin of ty underscore person. For every begin of ty underscore person there should be an end for that. The syntax is end of ty underscore person. So begin of a variable name, this is the structure design that I want to create, name, age and country, and end of ty underscore person. Now do shift and F1, do control and F2. So this is the way you create your own user defined local structure. Now I'll show you further. Now to create a work area which will be giving to this structure, it will be of data. Now I'll declare a variable. Suppose a work area means it's a structure. Okay, work area underscore person. Now type will be of what type? What is the local user defined data type that I created? ty underscore person, right? So type ty underscore person. So this work area will be of type of this local user defined structure. Now what I'll do is I have to provide certain values so that I can print the same to this work area. Okay, so what I'll do now, what is my work area? WA underscore person, right? So WA underscore person, control and space, do a hyphen, then do a control and space. See, these three came: age, country, name. Suppose for name I want to give Ravi, okay, full stop. Now WA underscore person, rather than writing, what I'll do control D. Now instead of name I'll provide the age. So age as, so the age, so what suppose what should be the age that I should provide? Okay, suppose 28 is the age of the person. And now I'll do once more control and D, and name, age and country, and the country will be India. Okay, name, age and country will be India. Now I'll do shift and F1, that is, formatting is done. Now I want to write the same. So what I'll do, I'll copy paste from here and accordingly I'll change it. So right here, instead of hello, what I want to print is first the name. So name, comma, then I want to delete the same. Instead of this name, what should be the name? That should be WA person name. WA person name, comma, okay. Now the age that I want, so the age is, and let me uncomment this line, and what should be the age? Control V, uncomment this line, and WA person age. I have forgotten to give quotes, WA person age now. Okay, now the age is provided. Now what do I want to give? I want to give the country name, right? So slash country, then quotes, comma, and full stop, and ultimately I'll provide country and full stop. Now I have activated the same. Okay, now I'll test the same. Can you see? Name Ravi, age 28, country India. See, this work area got created, which of this type, local defined structure, ty underscore person. I provided these three values, Ravi, age and country, and I printed the same. One more addition that I want to show you. Suppose I declare a variable which is of type constants. Okay, so constants, suppose age I want to give as lv underscore age, local constant is lc underscore age, and I give the type I, and I want to give the value as 25, suppose. Okay, and here I specify it as, I just select this line and I give this here, and I make this as lc underscore age. Okay, and now I just comment this. Now let me activate this, and now let me show you the answer came as 25. Now my question to all of you is, if I give this 28, now guys tell me what should be the output of the same. Will it be 25 or will it be 28? What should be the output of the same? Will it be 25 or will it be 28? So Naresh says 25, Srishti says 25, Asit says 25, Supra says 25. Let me show you the output and let me end your curiosities. So the answer will be 28. Answer will be 28. Obviously, as I told you, no, it always takes the last execution line. So what I meant is, see, I have given a value lc underscore age constant here. Okay, I have assigned this here. Constant means I cannot change anything to this variable lc underscore age, but my this WA person age is not a constant, right? Whether I can assign a constant here or whether I can assign any value here, whatever the last value that is assigned, it will take the same. Is it clear, guys? that it will be overridden even though you have declared a constant here, but I'm not manipulating the value of the constant. It will be this value which will be assigned at the end. Okay, so in this way, as I was telling you, this is your real practical scenario usage of how you will use types to create your own local defined structure, get the data and do the manipulation. Is this clear, guys? How to handle create your local defined structure by using types? Any queries on the same? Similarly, this work area I have created locally. Okay, you can create a work area on the basis of your database tables as well. So this is I have created locally with the help of your, what do you say, by using a locally defined type. Suppose I could write WSCHAR and I can directly give it is of type of which database table. Suppose char database table. Okay, now I can directly fetch the records from a database table and keep it in this work area during the runtime. So suppose if I write select single, okay, I want to fetch all the records, select single asterisk from char into corresponding fields of WA underscore char, okay, where char ID equals to AA, okay, full stop. Now if I want to print the same, so write, I'll show you, WA underscore char. Now see, since this is of type char, so it is showing me all the components of your database table char. So it is showing me all the components of this. So when I am selecting the records from char into this work area where char ID equals to A, it will give me all the records. Now suppose if I want to select char ID, okay, WA underscore char, I want to select char ID, then char name, and then the URL, okay, full stop. Do a shift and F1 and activate the same and execute. See here, AA American Airlines, and then the URL came. So rather than creating a local defined data type, you can even create a work area or a structure using the standard database tables and all, also database tables or database views. It can be anything here. This type can be of anything. Either you can create with the help of the local defined structure, or you can refer to a standard database table or your Z table or a standard database view or your Z database view. Now what I am doing, I am fetching the records from SCAR and I want to fetch only a single record. So we use select single, then asterisk means all the records from the database table char. Why into corresponding fields of? Because even suppose now example, okay, now I'm creating a local data type wherein I'm giving only char ID, char name and URL. I'm not giving everything, okay, I'm not giving everything. So what will happen, it has to identify that it has to be mapped against which field. So that's why into corresponding fields of work area and then the where condition. After you get the data, then I'm printing the same. So in this way you can assign the values directly from your database table or view into your work area which is of that type. Now you understood, Namita, why single? Is it clear? Why we are using single? Now is it clear, Namita? And to others as well? Yes, Ranjan, one record at a time. Yeah, you can use global structure as well. Okay, Virendra, now to make you clear, unnecessarily never create ABAP data dictionary objects, because that structure which you will be creating, no one is going to use it apart from you. No one is going to use it apart from you. Unnecessarily, to everyone, never create ABAP data dictionary objects. Structures, avoid it. Don't create. Use it as per your requirement. Use it locally in your reports. Because ABAP data dictionary objects, whenever you are creating, that just makes sense if it is going to be used throughout and across multiple places. If you are creating a structure just for one time, which you are never going to use it apart from the requirement that you are going to cater to, so that doesn't make a sense to create a structure from SE11. Is it clear, Virendra? Now you got the point. So Namita, what I am telling, select single we use if we want to fetch a single record from the database. That's why select single asterisk means all the records from the database table name is the syntax. Then why into corresponding fields of work area? Because suppose here if I had created a structure like this, wherein I had only char ID, char name and the URL, it has to understand that the char ID, char name and URL has to go and map against char ID, char name and URL and not the other fields. Because if you see, I had other fields as well, currency code and mandate, which I don't need. That's why I have to map it into the corresponding fields of the work area which I have declared, which is referring to type here scar database table, and I have given a condition because I need only a single record based on this condition. Now is it clear, Namita? Structure and work area both are same, Virendra. Whether you can, I can give it ls underscore scar also, a local structure. See, ls underscore scar, that's it. It's how you define a nomenclature. Normally we give either a work area or we give ls. Anything you can use a nomenclature. Both are same. So up to this point, is it clear, guys? Structures, arithmetic expressions and all these local, and how to even fetch directly from the database table? Clear to everyone? Fine, then let's have a 3 minutes break and let's again catch at 8:50. Let's have some water and rejuvenate ourselves. Okay, fine. Okay, can we start? Okay. So now we'll design our selection screen. Just a second. Okay. So for selection screen, I've created a program for you all. Okay. Let me first show you the output of this and then we will go into details. So basically see, selection screen always acts as your first user interface whenever a user is interacting with any reports, because he may want to enter certain values prior to processing of reports, or he may want to filter out data based on the input that he provides, right? Because you may not want the entire data from the database or whatever may be your requirement. Your requirement will obviously be like, you will want to provide certain inputs, and based on that you want to get the output back by filtering the data. So selection screen always acts as that first user interface between the user and the, what do you say, between the user and the system, as in how they want to filter the data and get the required output. So this selection screen, if you see, this is my initial selection screen that I have designed. Okay, this is my initial selection screen that I have designed here. So if you see, there is a checkbox which I have given. There are certain radio buttons which I have provided. This is a list box which gives me the feasibility to select the values from here as a part of the drop down, and this is a select options where I can select a multiple range of values. So can you see a beautiful thing that initially when the screen gets loaded, my screen is disabled, right? Now when I select on this checkbox and click on enter, my screen automatically gets enabled. My screen automatically gets enabled. So now I can select any value from here. Suppose if I don't select any value and I want to select the values for the country code, I'll get an error that fill out all the required entry fields. Okay, can you see here? This means that it's a mandatory field for the user interaction. So suppose if I select this field and I now select here, it gives me the feasibility to select all the values. Like if I can give multiple single values, I can provide a range of values if I want to exclude certain single values, or if I want to exclude certain range. So this gives the feasibility to design the selection screen in such a way that initially my screen is disabled, and then after that when I select this drop down I can select a value, and when I select on this multiple the range option I can select multiple single values or range. Okay, this selection screen which I am showing, which I am giving a brief idea on the same, you need to create the exact selection screen on the same with some other additions that I'll give you. Okay, so as a part of your selection screen, the first thing that we need to do is, first thing is your selection screen begin of block. This comes in very handy. So now when we design a selection screen, now let us go back here to the code. So for designing a selection screen, what is the first line of code that we need to write is, first we'll design a block. Okay, so selection screen, then begin of block, then you can give any name, begin of block v1 with frame. Okay, and then the title. Now there is a text which you can provide here for this title. So here the text element plays a key role here. So text, suppose if I give 001, text element, as in, like, suppose if you want, you can hard code the text, or if you want, you can store the text values in your text elements, and which you can use throughout your program. So if you want to create a text element, if I have given the number here, just double click on the same. It will ask that text 001 does not exist. Do you want to create the object? Okay. Then you go to your here, save, yes. It will automatically come here to this text element. Suppose I give the selection text as selection screen. Okay. Save the same. Report, just activate this selection text, come back. So first I am designing a block for the same. Now I'll show you what do I mean by this. So now selection screen and end of block. Okay, just when I do this, Control and F2. So after, sorry, end of block. Okay, I haven't given the block name, sorry. End of block B1. Okay, activate the same. Now let me show you what we did. If I execute the same, now nothing will happen, because just I have declared a block and there is nothing inside this block. Okay, there is nothing inside this block. Now suppose I want to provide a a path wherein you can provide a file path. So you can add parameters for giving single value names. Okay, so if you don't want to pass any range and provide single values, you need to use parameters. If you want to provide multiple single values, or you want to provide a range of values, you need to provide select options. Parameters is single, select options is multiple. So parameters p underscore name, suppose type is string. Then I want to make it mandatory. So obligatory is the keyword that we use, and I want to provide a default value for the same for these parameters. So which I'll provide is file path. Okay, now let me activate the same, Control and F2, Control and F3, and now let me do F8. Can you see this p underscore name, this selection screen came? Now can you see this selection screen is the text element that we provided to capture the title of this block. And for this parameters p underscore name, we provided make it a mandatory and provided it a default value, right? And the default value is coming as file path. Now I am not liking this p underscore name. I want to change the description of the same. Go to, click on text elements, click on the selection text p underscore name. Here provide a file path for the same. Activate the same. Now come back. Now again activate the same and F8. Can you see this file path came? Here I'll add this thing as provide file path. Okay. Now activate the same. So as I told you, parameters is single value. Now if I want to provide a checkbox, now suppose if I want to provide a checkbox, so parameters, again I don't need to write, because I can use the chained expressions wala thing. So parameters, now here after this, now I want to provide, so suppose p underscore chk as checkbox, default I want it to be enabled. So since I want it to be enabled, just provide as default as X. Now let me show you the output of the same. Let me do an F8. Can you see by default it comes as enabled. Now if I again want to change the same, go to selection text and here specify as checkbox. Activate the same, come here, again activate, and now see checkbox is automatically defaulted. If you don't give this default as X, if I give default as blank space, activate the same, default is blank. Okay, now once I've designed both these two, now I want to give a space. So for giving a space in the selection screen, so selection screen skip, it will give us space. Now I want to create 3 radio buttons. Okay, now radio buttons will be assigned to a radio button group. So now suppose, how do? We use parameters, then p underscore rb1. Okay, after that a radio button group, give the name of the radio button group, comma, then suppose p underscore rb2 radio button group, same radio, it should be to the same radio button group name which you give. Now I want to default this as it should be selected. So again specify X here, and ultimately one more radio button group I want to create, radio button I want to create, and here radio button group and RB. Do Shift and F1. So radio buttons are also designed. Now let me show you the output once. Activate the same, F8, see here the radio buttons are also given. Now again go to the text elements, go to the selection texts and provide radio button 1, radio button 2 and radio button 3. So now if I activate the same, and now see radio button 1, radio button 2 and radio button 3. Since I gave a selection screen skip, so one space is also added here. I'll provide one more selection screen skip here, and after that now I'll give you a select options so that you can provide a range of values. Okay, now select options. Okay, now for select options what I'll give, suppose I give the name as s underscore banfan, for the syntax is for, then the database table name and then the field name. Suppose I want a field name from the IBAN database table as the purchase requisition number, so IBAN banfan, then this thing. Now can we activate the same? No, it will throw me an error. Why? Because it will say that IBAN banfan is unknown. Why it is throwing me an error? Because in select options, whenever you want to use any database table and its component, you need to specify it with a keyword called tables and then specify the table name before using the same as a part of your select options. Now I activated the same. See here, this interval came as a part of the select options. Now again go to text elements, go to the selection text, and I'll give PR, purchase requisition number. Activate the same, go here, activate the same and activate the same PR number. The range comes. Now there are certain additions also which you can provide. Suppose if I provide no no intervals. Now if I provide no intervals, let me show you what it happens. The range which you saw from the lower limit to the upper limit, that went away. Okay, instead of no intervals, if I provide no extension, and now let me show you the same. See here, there will be no extension for you to give any kind of multiple values. There will be no extension, only you can provide one lower limit and one higher limit. So if I provide no intervals, only single multiple values, not a range of multiple values. If I provide no extension, only one lower limit to one higher limit. So there are multiple such extensions which I'll give you an assignment to work on the different additions. If you add the select options, this screen, the look and feel keeps on changing. So if I now activate the same, see here, radio button 1, you can change this, you can change this, if you want you can change this, but by default this was enabled as default value, this was enabled as default value, and the purchase requisition number, and provide the file path. So this way you can design your screen. Now I'll show you if you want to add certain code to this. Once you select something from the selection screen, and if you execute, you want something to be enabled. So what I'll do, there is a certain event. After this, now we'll understand what are the different events. So as of now, I'll use the event start of selection event. Okay, start of selection event, that means whatever you select from the screen, on the basis of that, whatever you want to manipulate. So I'll add certain conditions as in the conditional statements if condition. So if p underscore chk equals to x, okay, if it is equals to x, what I want to write that checkbox is selected, else write checkbox is not selected, and if. Now control and F2, control and F3. Now I'll do F8. Now let me show you. If I don't give this and if I click on execute, see checkbox is not selected. And if I click on this, once I do any kind of selection on my screen, so after this, then the start of selection event gets triggered, and once you click on execute, the start of selection event will get triggered and this logic will get executed. So in this way you can design your selection screen, and after the start of selection event, whatever screen manipulation you have done, if you want to handle those screen values as a part of your logic, you need to do as a part of your start of selection event. Once your start of selection event will be triggered once you click on execute. Up to this point, is it clear guys how to design a selection screen? Any doubts on the same? Text option, nothing, you just double click on the same. See, now to already I have created this, no? See, already I have created this. Just give text hyphen and the number that you want to specify. Otherwise, go to text elements, text symbols. If you want to give the name number 002 and whatever you want to give, and then if you want to use the same across anywhere. So suppose, see here, checkbox is selected, I am giving here, right? Now what I'll do control C from here. I'll go to text elements, I'll give 002, okay, and I'll provide this one, checkbox is selected, okay, and I'll remove this, and now control V, checkbox is selected, checkbox is not selected, okay. Now I'll give 003. So now I'll activate this part, I'll come back. Now instead of this, I'll use write text 002, write text 003, activate the same F8, checkbox is selected, checkbox is selected. See, either you can hard code it. See, this is the best practice. Rather than hard coding the character values or your string values, make use of text elements, so that the beautiful part of this is that whenever you want to do any kind of code changes and your functional comes up and tells that I don't want this text, I want this text to be modified, you don't need to go to the report. Just go to the text elements and change the text of this. Suppose they say that S should be capital, okay, not small. I don't have to change there. Now I just go here, I change it, activate the same, do an F8, do this, checkbox is selected. This is the best part of using text elements. Sanjay, anyways, I'll be covering events after this, so at that time you can understand events. Syed, what is your doubt on select option? I did not get. What select option from database table as in? Select options if we want to use, if you want to get multiple values. So the syntax is select options, then your variable name, and then for I want to select this from this database table for this. This is my field name that I am specifying for IBAN Banfen, automatically for IBAN Banfen. Okay. So if I want to use this, I need to specify this other tables IBAN. Then only I'll be able to use the same. Did you get it, Syed? Is it clear, Syed? I am not selecting one field. I think you are confused. I am not selecting one field. This is not for selection. Try and understand the concept. This is for I am selecting this particular field from this IBAN ka component. I can select any other field as well. If I want to select ADRNR, I can select anything, AF name, anything. I just want to give Banfan as my purchase requisition number. My requirement is that in my selection screen, I should be able to select multiple purchase requisition number. That's why I am giving ABAN Banfan. I can provide anything here. And this is the value which is going to store this. One more thing which I want to show you, p underscore name. Suppose name underscore first. If I give example the length of this, if I activate this, no, you will get an error. Why an error is that the restriction is that the variable name which you are giving as a part of your parameter, this can be up to 8 characters only. It cannot exceed 8 characters. Make a note of this. It cannot exceed 8 characters, the parameter and all. Similarly for s underscore banfen number, if I give and if I just activate the same, you will get an error here. So the select options and parameters both should be up to 8 characters only. It cannot exceed 8 characters. Okay, so now I give you 5 minutes as a part of your assignment. Now design the same selection screen and just understand step by step what we did. It's 9:13. 5 minutes from now, design this same selection screen. Design this same selection screen and understand what we did. 5 minutes is okay for everyone, right? Okay, so I give you 5 minutes from now. It's 9:14, 9:19. Please finish it up by then. Design the same, make use of text elements, make use of the selection text, and whatever hard coding you are doing, pass everything to the text elements. Pass everything to the text elements. Yeah, Ramakrishna, not an issue. You can use your own system as well. It's about how we practice. But you can drop a mail to SAP Yard also, no? That you can, if you want system access. Because I think all have been shared the credentials for the same. Fine guys, is it done? Or do you need to 1-2 minutes extra? Is it done or you need 1-2 minutes extra? Are you there? Okay, let's. I'll give you 3 minutes extra. 9:23. Fine. So Sonia, you did it right. So Sonia, can you unmute yourself? I'll just ask you one question. Till others. Sonia, you there? Hello. No, you can unmute yourself. No, because I put everyone on this thing. I've removed everyone from lecture mode. Okay, so Sonia, what question I was asking, anyways, it's fine. Uh, suppose what I want is when I'm giving this checkbox and all, so when I'm executing the screen, okay, so how to handle that initially my this entire screen should be disabled, that only that if I provide this checkbox then only it should be enabled. How do we handle that? What is the keyword for handling that? Any clue you can provide an answer? Okay, so there is a concept called modif ID for everyone, MODIF ID, modif and then ID, which is basically the modification ID, and we use the concept of loop at screen. Okay, so this will be also as a part of your assignment that I'll be providing you, which you need to work on and come up. Suppose initially if I want the screen to be disabled, and then if I do any user command action, and then only the screen to be enabled. Okay, Sonia, so that anyways it will be a part of the home assignment which you need to come up with and show us like how it will be done. Fine, because it's a very common requirement, as in when you that on certain actions some fields will be enabled, some fields will be disabled. It's a very common requirement. So is it done now for everyone? Great. Okay, so just to save time I've created one report. I've created a report wherein we will understand the events that we have in an ABAP report. Okay, so before we go to the events, let me first explain you what are the events that we have in an ABAP program. So normally whenever an ABAP report gets processed, there are certain events which gets triggered, sometimes by default which you don't need to specify, and sometimes you need to specify certain events to handle certain situations as per the requirement. So now to handle these situations as per the requirements, we have got these events in your ABAP program. So now let us look at each event in certain more depth. So it starts with the top of page event. So this is triggered when it encounters the first write statement in that report. Whenever it identifies the first write statement in the report, then this top of page event is triggered. It basically acts like a header of the page. So if there is no write statement in the report, then by default the first event to be triggered is the load of the program. This is the first event to be triggered, that is your load of the program. So in most of the cases, by default, the first event to be triggered is the load of program. Okay, and this event gets triggered when the program is of type executable, module pool, function group, or S. As I had showed during the creation of the program, the different types that you can provide, and this exists only once per program, and normally we don't use it as a part of our coding practice. Okay, I'll also stress on those points which we normally use as per our requirements. Then comes your initialization event. As the name suggests, this event is used to initialize the values. This event gets triggered after the load of the program and before any selection screen gets displayed. So before a selection screen gets displayed, like if you see here, where did it go? Yeah, see, before any selection screen gets displayed, if I want to provide any initial values, so you need to handle as a part of the initialization event. Suppose if I had not given any default values here and you wanted to provide any default values for this p underscore name, you needed to use the initialization event to provide the default value for the same. Now once you have initialized the values, then your next event which gets triggered as soon as your selection screen will get loaded is your add selection screen output. This event gets triggered just before the selection screen gets displayed. Okay, this event is also used when you want to change the screen fields at runtime. Suppose, as I was just telling you now, that if you want to hide certain fields, enable certain fields, disable certain fields, you want to intensify certain fields, you need to handle add selection screen output event. So before the selection screen gets displayed, initialization and add selection screen output. So before selection screen gets displayed, so you have initialization and add selection screen output event. Okay, now once your selection screen now has been loaded, then comes your event. And one more important point that you need to make a note of, in your add selection script output, this event here modify screen plays a very vital role. You need to use that logic modify screen inside that looped screen to modify the screen parameters. There are two things which will come, modif ID and the modify screen, which you need to explore as a part of the week assignment. So with the help of this modify screen, the screen values gets changed accordingly. Now after the screen is loaded, now your add selection screen event gets triggered. Suppose when you are processing certain things on the screen and you want to check and validate some of the inputted values, then your add selection screen, and similarly you have your add selection screen on field event. Suppose I want to validate only for a certain parameter or select options, then add selection screen on that field name. Suppose if I want to validate for everything, then it will be add selection screen for everything. Okay, so either for a single thing add selection screen on field, and for everything add selection screen. Then once your validation is successful, then you have your add selection screen on value request for. Suppose here in this requirement in F8 I want to assign a F4 help as in a search help for the same. To handle the same, I will use the add selection screen on value request event to handle a F4. Similarly, you have add selection screen on help request as well for an F1 that you want a technical help, that what does that field you want to specify. After your value request and help request, then you have a start of selection which gets triggered when the user clicks on the execute button, just as I showed you now, or they hit on F8. And it is a very good practice to mention this event in the code, because after you write your code, after your start of selection, whatever user parameters are there in your selection screen, you can use the same for further restricting the amount of data that you want to get. And ultimately you have your end of selection, which will get triggered when the last statement of the start of the selection event gets executed. So on overall, these are the complete events that we encounter as a part of your ABAP program, out of which the day-to-day usage are add selection screen output, add selection screen and the initialization before the screen gets loaded, these two, then add selection screen and add selection screen field for the validation of the same, add selection screen on value request and add selection screen on help request to handle the F4 and F1 and the start of selection and the end of selection. Now to further simplify you, I have created a report for the same to execute this. First I'll execute this for you, and now see, initially my screen is disabled, as in this file name is disabled, right? If I click select this, now this comes, and then F4 is also enabled for the same. Now if I select this, now see, it will access any kind of files that you want to attach from your local desktop or laptop. If you close this and if I do an F1, see this, I am getting a technical information as well. Please click on F4 for the file name. So, and if you want to execute this report, suppose if I give execute, see this, the report, the heading gets displayed, the entire data gets displayed, and the end of this gets displayed. Now let me show you from the overall perspective what have we done. So now this is the initial declaration. So what is the requirement? The requirement is that suppose you want to develop a customer master report to display the customer number, country, name one and the city. Okay. So I have created a local structure types begin of ty_kan1, and these are my component names that I have given. Now here comes the internal table. So prior to today we saw that if I give data work area type of this local user defined data type, right? Now out of this local user defined structure I want to create an internal table for the same so as to store multiple records during runtime. So I am using an internal table to store multiple records. So data internal table name as you want to specify, type table of is the syntax, then the work area, the local user defined data type that you have provided here. And I am also again creating a work area as I had showed you, data work area type and the local user defined structure type. Then I am creating three variables, title, land1 and fname. One is string, one is the standard data element. Now you see here how I have used the standard data element for using in my ABAP report perspective. Now for the selection screen, as you saw in my selection screen I have land1, fname and download. Okay. Now I have not given the text elements for the same. Now for this land1 which is KNA1 land1. Now since I am using file name, it will be of the whatever the parameter you want to specify, and here is the modif ID. Why use the modif ID? Because if you see, when I am executing this report, initially this field is disabled, so that's why. Now after that, one more parameter as checkbox. Now as I told you, the load of program, even if you specify or you don't specify, it doesn't matter. This will always be the first event. Okay, so now after the load of program, what I wanted to do, I want to initialize certain values. Can you see here? Land1 is automatically by default it is coming as India, and here I have not specified any value, default IN or something, right? Like how I did here, I have not specified any value as default and all. Now how will I handle the same? So if you see, I am using a subroutine. What is the beauty of a subroutine is that with the help of a subroutine you can manipulate and modularize your programs. Suppose this subroutine you want to call locally in your program across multiple places, and you don't want to write this piece of code again and again. This piece of code you want to use multiple number of times. Rather than writing the same code again and again, I create a subroutine with the keyword, I'll call it perform, then the subroutine name and the logic to be written inside form, same subroutine name and form. So the syntax for calling a subroutine is perform then your subroutine name and if you whatever logic you want to write, it will be under the same subroutine name here. It will be under the same subroutine name here. The logic will be written here and then end form for the same. Here the logic will be there, which you can use it again and again by calling this subroutine across multiple places. And rather than writing all the code at one go, to make your code look beautiful, it is a good practice to modularize your code by using subroutines. Okay, subroutines is a way of modularizing your code. Other thing, since this subroutine is local to this program, if you see here, if I click on this object list, if I click on this object list and if you see this subroutine, all subroutines are local to this program only. In any other program apart from this program, you cannot use this subroutine. This subroutine is local to this program only. So as I told you, before the screen gets loaded, if you want to initialize certain values, so see here, I am providing this v underscore title as this one and land1 as in. I am providing the initialization. Now after the initialization, before the screen loads, I want to do a modification of the screen to manipulate the dynamic selection screen changes. Now if I told you, you need to use this modify screen statement to handle this modification of the screen. So what I am checking, if you see when I execute the same, I am checking if this checkbox is enabled, then only modify the screen and make it enabled. So if p download is not initial, then enable this. If you go to the code here, if p download is initial, then what I am doing, loop at screen, check for the screen group. So I had given a modif id, right? Modif id basically assigns these all screen values under a screen group. I am doing a grouping of the screen elements. So if check whether the screen group 1 equals to DLD or not. You could have written the same statement using a if and if, but why I am using a check? Check what it does. If this is successful, then only it will go further down. Otherwise, if this is not successful, it will directly come to the end form and come out. Got it? You could have handled the same way by using if conditional statement. But I don't want to execute the code further if this statement does not passes successfully. So if this modif id equals to DLD, check the screen group, and initially if this checkbox is disabled, that is not selected, screen input should be equals to 0. If I want to enable the same, screen input should be equals to 1, and then modify the screen for modifying the screen parameters. Now once your screen modification has been done, now I want to validate whether this is same or not. So what I am doing, now I am passing this value, this p underscore land1, okay, and if you see a big change here, I am doing select and select. Now is anyone aware when we use select single to fetch one row and select up to one row and end select to fetch one row? Is anyone aware? Does anyone know when to use select single and when to use select up to one row and end select? Does anyone know of the same? Okay, Kaushik says no. Okay, fine. So make a note of it. If you see the database table, this database table has the key field Kunnar. Leave this mandate. Has the key field Kunnar. Now in my select single, whenever you want to use a select single to fetch data from the database, you need to specify all the key fields after the where clause to get the unique data. If the feasibility is not there, that you are not able to use all the key fields after the where clause, as in this requirement, I want to check this land, what I am passing is a invalid country code or it is a valid country code. Okay, suppose if I provide here NI, okay, now can you see NI, invalid country code? How does it coming? It is coming from here. What I am doing, Why have you select and select? Because in KNA1 my key field is KUNNR, but I don't have that KUNNR feasibility. I have to pass this land1. So this land1 value is P underscore land1, right? So select land1 from KNA1 into a variable up to 1 rows, because I want to fetch only one record up to 1 rows, where land1 equals to P underscore land1, and then end select. This is the syntax. If psi sub R C gives you the written code whether this select query was successful or not. If it is not successful, that means whatever country I am passing, if it is not found as a part of this KNA1 database table, then throw an error message that this invalid country code, it's an invalid country code. And for throwing an error message, we type message invalid country code type error. If I wanted to show it as a warning, I will change it to W. So the different message types are E, W and S and A. So different message types are E, W, S and A. E is for warning, E is for error, W is for warning, S is for success, A is for abend. Normally we don't use abend. Abend means the termination of the complete work process. E is for error. Error means a hard stop. You cannot move out of that screen until and unless you rectify the error. Warning is not a hard stop. Warning is just a warning to show you that there is some issue, but you can proceed ahead. Success means it's a success, there is no issue. Abend means the complete termination of that complete activity. Now again go back here. Now once I have validated, can you see here add selection screen? Either I told you can use add selection screen or you can use add selection screen on field. So the field that I wanted to validate is P underscore land1. Now I want, as I showed you, I wanted a F4 help for the same, right? For this P underscore file name. So what I do, this is the way to handle an F4 with the help of coding. This is one of the function module. Call function kd get file name on F4. So function modules we'll do in detail in next week, but to just give you a brief idea, function modules are the reusable ABAP objects which you can use again and again in multiple ABAP objects. SAP has provided a lot of standard function modules to serve your requirements and to cater to your functionality. So one of the function module which is available to provide an F4 is call function kd get file name on F4. What you need to pass here is, can you see here I have passed the system program name, the system screen name and the field name, that is P underscore F name, and this will come as changing P underscore F name. Okay, this function module I am triggering to get the file name on the click of F4. Okay, so on the value request for F4, when I'm clicking on F4, I want to get the file name from my local desktop. So call function kd get file name on F4. Now after I've specified F4, I also need a technical help for the same in case I don't know what to do for that particular field. So help request for that particular field and get help. I am just showing a information message. Okay, I missed one more thing. EWS, and there is also one thing called I for information, if you want to display any information for the same. Now after I have displayed the information that is on help request, now I want to get the data once I click on execute. So for getting the data, what I am doing, from my KNA1 table I want to get multiple records into an internal table. This we had already declared as I showed just a few minutes back. So we are seeing into corresponding fields of work area. Now here into table IT underscore KNA1. Why I am not using into corresponding fields? Because I am not specifying asterisk here. I am specifying what fields I want to select. So I am selecting Kunnar, land1, name1, ORT01 from the database table into the table internal table. If it was work area, select single into work area as in the work area name that you specify, and then the where condition. If this is successful, then fine. If it is not successful, message no data found, type information. Okay, now that I have got the record, then the end of selection, as I told you, once the last executable line gets executed inside the start of selection event. Now come to end of selection, because my entire fetching and all is done. Now what I need to do, that if my p underscore download equals to x, okay, this one, and p underscore f name is not initial, sorry, if my p underscore where did it go, sorry, if my p underscore download equals to x and p underscore f name is not initial, then download data else display data. What I mean is, if this one, okay, and this is not initial, and when I execute the same, I am displaying the data. Okay, so this, either I am download the data or I want to display the data. So then what I want to do, I am displaying at the top of the page. If you see, when I execute this, at the top of the page there is a heading coming, and at the end of the page there is a end of page coming. Okay, so for those two events, these are not used much, but just to show you, I have added these two. So at the top of page, and instead of end of page, you can either use end of editing as well. There is some issue with the end of page, you can use end of editing event as well instead of end of page. So in the display heading, I am displaying, right, as I told you, right, this top of page gets triggered when it finds the first right executable statement. So the top of page gets triggered. So psi u line is a new line. If you see, why I am adding psi u line is for this line, psi u line. It draws a horizontal line. So psi u line, and you can provide a color. This 6, there are 0 to 7 as per the Vivgoir colors. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can specify any value. I have specified 6. Okay, and I am providing the title here. Right psi u line. Again, I am providing a new line. Similarly, for displaying the footer at the end, again. So what I am doing, before this, I am providing the data here. So if you see, display footer, write psi u line, then SAP yard and psi u line. Okay, and if you see, for displaying the data, I had created one more subroutine, which is for displaying the data. Loop at internal table into work area, and I am displaying the entire data. So since my requirement is to display the entire data in a customer report, so what I need to do, I need to loop at internal table into work area. So what it does is that loop at internal table into work area, it will keep on assigning all the values of this internal table one by one into this work area, and then you will keep on writing the work area results one by one. And the syntax is loop at internal table into work area has to be ended with an end loop. And this is the way through which you can read all the records of the internal table and assign it to a work area. Loop at internal table into work area and do all your logic here. So in this way, I've written, if you see, all the subroutines are here. Okay, and now when I execute the report, this is what you are able to see. Is it clear, guys, how to use events with this practical based scenario? Any doubts? I tried to make it very much simplified. I hope it was very simple for you all to understand, so that I have broken it up into almost all the events that I showed you, and how the execution is taking place, and how each and every statement is getting executed. So I hope this event, and this is very much clear to everyone, right? No, Namita, we are not writing in SE80. Subroutines, if you want to create, suppose example, I'll just show you. Example C. This init underscore variables is there, right? Now, if you double click on this, it is going here, right? Suppose what we will do is we'll create instead of initial init variables. Wait, what I'll do here, Control and D. I'll show you one thing. Perform initialize variables. Can you see? Wait, I'll show you by creating one. Initialize variables. Okay. Now Control S. Now this is not created, right? Just double click on the same. It will ask subroutine does not exist. Do you want to create the object? Just use the perform and the keyword. Okay. Now what it will do? It will go here. Now you want to create a new include for the same, or you want to write it in the same master program. So this is the main master program, right? So I don't want to create any include for the same. I'll be doing it in the same master program. So I'll click here. See, automatically this gets triggered. And you write the same logic here. Is it clear, Namita? Add selection screen event, Supraja. If you want to validate for a multiple fields and for a single field, add selection screen on that field name. So I'll delete this and I'll delete this. Yes, Ranjan, subroutines, if you are creating locally dynamically in a program, it will be local to that program only. This subroutines will never be called anywhere. It cannot be called anywhere outside this program. Because if you see, while creating it asked me where I want to create, right? And when I was creating, I gave the master program as this program. So this subroutines will be local to this program only. You cannot use it outside this program. Is it clear, Ranjan? Any doubts on this? Anyone? Wait, let me unmute you. Anyone wants to ask anything with this program that we understood with respect to the event? Up to this point, this event should be very much clear to you. Anyone wants to ask anything? I have unmuted you all. You can unmute yourself and ask. Anyone wants to ask? I think I can hear a lot of disturbances.
Hi, this is Ashif.
Asit, I think there is a lot of Asit, you can put your question here. I think I can hear a lot of disturbances. So Ramakrishna, the answer to your question as in how do we know, as in the specific requirements to use subroutines or function models, etc. Function models, it will be as per the whatever SAP standard provides a function module. If you want to use the same to cater to your requirement, you need to use a function module for the same. Subroutines is not mandatory. You can write your entire code line by line also. But just to make it modularized and to look it up, see, doesn't this look code look beautiful? See, I go here, I get the logic for this file name. I go here, what is the written logic written for this get data. Rather than writing all the data at one place, I'm segregating the code as per I have used it as per the requirement. In that way you can use subroutine. You don't have to write all the events, Virendra. I have just showed it so that to give you a glimpse of how all the event gets triggered. As per the requirement only you need to use the events. That's why I had showed you all the events. Text elements, whatever you get created, all will be as a part of the report and all. Since this if you see this is attribute is in a $tmp package. This is not going anywhere. So whatever you create, when you are creating and saving it in a package, whatever text elements, because see, when you are creating a text elements, if you would have seen, it asks you as the object name as rept, report texts. Okay, so that also gets captured as a part of your TR, and it will get moved as a part of your TR, which is there in a package. Got the point? So whatever is captured as a part of your TR, everything has to go via TR only. Asit, got the point? Virendra, is it clear now? Such function modules you need to explore. There is no other way out. There is no such documentation that there is a list of function modules which will be given. As per usage, you need to search. Suppose you get a requirement wherein you want to convert from external to input for the date formatting. You just need to Google out function module to convert from external to internal. Function modules, you will never get all the list at one go. As per the experience, so what will happen as you keep on getting experience with as per your usage, so you can keep on getting a clue on what on function modules will be used for your requirement. Yes, Neil, you have been unmuted. You can ask.
Yeah, so the question was, we supposed to practice the same way you have created this program, right?
See, I have showed you the entire all the events. But for the sake of practicing, please practice all the events so that you also get a feel of what events gets triggered. Second thing, what you do when you are practicing the same, comment out certain events. Okay, comment out this event and this piece of code and see whether the functionality is working or not. It will not work. Again, uncomment the same and see the behavior change. But
okay,
as per your real-time requirements, you do not need to use all the events. Here also okay, I showed you, right? As per your real-time requirements, suppose you get a requirement just that you want to add a F4 to a particular selection screen, then you just need to use only this one, add selection screen on value request for. If you get a requirement wherein you want to validate only the screen inputted values, then you need only this one. If you get a requirement wherein you want to make certain fields hidden and visible and all, then you need to use only this one. But here at one place I have shown everything so that you can refer this for your future requirements and understand that this is for this and this is for this. Got the point, Snehal?
Okay, I got it. Thank you. So my question was, do you have any documents that we can read or just watch the video and from video do it?
I did not get you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah. Do you have any documents that we can like related to the programming? Do you have any documents, or we just watch the video and do it?
See, you can always refer to the video. Documentation, if you see, the best documentation, everything for SAP is help.sap.com. Okay, if you see, if I do F1, no, I'll do F1 here, right? If you see what will happen, see this help.sap.com, entire ABAP keyword documentation will open. And this is what you get in help.sap.com. But then you have to read through everything here to understand. So just to simplify it, we have tried to collate everything here. See, help.sap.com is the main document for your entire SAP everything.
Yeah.
Other things, if you want to read books, then you have to refer to SAP press books and all those things and so on. Or
Right,
if
right.
you have got access to your this thing, what do you say, your SAP ka this thing learning hub. If your organization gives access to SAP learning hub, then you can go and read on the entire Bible books on ABAP. There are 5-6 books.
That I know. In case if you guys have any documents,
We
Okay.
don't have any such documentation, but obviously you can always refer to the videos in case if you are stuck up with anything. Even if you are stuck up with any syntax issues or something, obviously you can ping on WhatsApp, and obviously you can drop a mail to SAP Art for the same. We are always there to help you out.
Okay,
Okay?
no problem. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Namita, see here, even what I did step by step, I've written all the comments here. This event is used for what? This event is used for what? Why is this event triggered? I've written all the comments here. Can you see? I've written one line comments for everything. So you can refer the same. So Ramakrishna, you are talking about SC38, this entire view. Normally you don't need everything. It's just that for executing a report, we never need everything. Lock and all is never required, but still I'll just show you one thing. Here, go to the attributes. If you go to the attributes here, this is the main thing, is the executable program. The status we don't need. SAP standard production program, this we don't need, because you are creating your own program, not a test program or a system program or this thing. So we don't need to provide anything here. Then this logical database and all you don't need to give, because you are not, this is applicable only for HCM modules and all. This is not applicable for other things. So LDB name and all this is not required. For application, we normally, whenever SAP creates its own objects, they provide it to a certain application. We don't provide it to any application. It is independent of any application. It will run for all. SAP normally assign it, it provides it, like it maps to a certain application. Authorization group and all, this has to be done by the basis team, whether this you are authorized to run this report or not, as in you need to make use of authority objects, which we will check later during the course. And ABAP language version will always be ABAP Unicode, and you need to always make this as fixed point arithmetic to be enabled. Otherwise your arithmetic manipulations will go for a toss. This has to be always enabled, and editor log should not be enabled, because maybe you are working on the report and at the same time if you are on leave or something, any other developer has to work on that report. So there should not be any editor log for the same. Anybody can independently, they should be able to work on those reports. And anyways, whatever changes any developer is making with respect to a report, the modification logs will be captured, and any developer, with multiple developers are working on a report, anyways you will be getting to know through your transport request, as in the tasks, because for different developers different tasks will be assigned. And also one more thing, if there are any changes happening to your report, any other beautiful tool is utilities. If you see this version management, if you do, can you see this is the the first time version. Okay, now similarly here in this system it is not connected to any other system, right? If I keep on releasing the transport request I'm talking about, not about the task. If I move the first transport request one time to any other quality system, again any other developer is working on this report and he or she makes any other changes, then you again go to utilities, again you go to versions, click on the version management, you will get a new version, and you will be able to understand that 2 or 3% has made changes to the same program. This utilities versions is very handy whenever you want to do a version comparison from one system to the other system, and also locally with respect to this system. This is a very important and a handy tool, and version comparison is a must before you start making changes to any existing report or any existing functionality. Is this point clear, guys?
Yes, thank you. And can you tell me like how this values list and all the required things?
Now coming to the values list, suppose example, if you see here in this program I had used the values list of this land1 underscore GP. Okay, suppose this data element. Now to understand where this data element has been used, suppose by mistake one of your developer of your team goes and messes with the standard data element by mistake. Okay, by mistake, if it does that, you should not allow that to happen, but by mistake developers can make a mistake, right? Anybody can make a mistake while learning. Now just select on this, click on this values list, or use the shortcut Control Shift F3. Now you will get this list, right? Select on everything. Normally I don't select on everything. What I do, I select table fields, structure fields, view fields, table types, search helps, data elements, programs, classes, function module interface, and that's it. Now I'll click on tick. Once I do this, it will run scan through your entire system, and do you see 2466? Yesterday this is what I was telling. If you touch anything, please check what is the implication with respect to what all objects where it has been used. Can you see these all search helps it has been used? And if I scroll down at the end, you will find the Z reports or the Z programs where this has been used. This was the program which I showed you, right? Z demo training program. These all Z programs it has been used. If you see this, just double click on this. Can you see this? If you just double click on this, can you see this? So in this way you need to understand before making any change. Suppose in this, I just double click on this in this public section. Can you see this? In this classes and interface where this is changed. So you need to understand where all the code changes may be there before making any change. It's not about only a standard. Suppose you had created a Z data element and it was created 6-7 years back. So obviously that has been used across multiple objects. Now your requirement comes that now my length wants to be increased from 3 to 5. Now if you go and blindly change it, just understand the impact that is going to happen. Is it clear now to whoever asked me this question?
Yeah, that's fine. But just like in real time, when we are executing the program, like before going to touch the object, before starting the development, maybe we can look into that list of routines and subroutines, function modules, transactions. So all these list was included in that particular program, right? So how we can evaluate that? How we can
subroutines will be locally to your program. It depends on you if you want to create a subroutine. Okay, it depends on you if you want to create a subroutine. Now second point is that, as I told you, most of the cases you will be using standard function modules to cater to your requirement. So suppose you are talking to a developer and a developer has given you the function module and you want to check how is the usage of this function module. So suppose example, where had I used the function module? Just a second. Get file name. This was the function module, right? Suppose this is the function module. Anybody has given you as a hint that this function module you can use. So prior to using this, if you want to evaluate how can I use this, how should the code be like, just do a values list and see where all this has been used as a part of your standard program or anybody else has used it. Because before this, you using this, anybody else might have also used this. If you see this download upload event, this guy has used this function model in this way. You can go to his code, evaluate his code and see how is he passing and what is he doing. Once you get a clue, you can use the same as a part of your program as well. And normally when you are creating a new Z report, you do not need to evaluate all the ABAP objects because the report which you are creating is a new one and that was never existing on your system. And obviously while creating the reports, you will be using the objects which are existing as a part of your ABAP repository objects. Now does it answer your question?
Yes, yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Fine. So in this way, before starting with the requirement, we analyze what is. So see, before, just a common statement to you, before starting with a requirement, what you do is, first of all, you analyze that this and blah blah and objects you need, right? Like this is the flow diagram. I have to design this selection screen in this way. Once the start of selection happens, this is the data that I want to fetch and then I want to manipulate. Once you have done a rough diagram of the same, then you start designing, break it up into parts, succeed on completion part by part and then do a unit testing of your entire requirement. So Nirmit, you have asked me a question. If you want to change the field label, standard data elements never change. Never change any standard data element. Second point, if you want to change the field label, you can do with the Z1, but before changing, as I told you, see if you can change the impact that it will arise, because this field label name, if you are whatever giving, this may have been used across multiple SM30 table maintenance generator. This may have been used across your database views. This may have been used across your database tables. So if you go and blindly change it, it will go and impact. You saw 2466 objects, right? Got the point? It's not about validation, how it will impact. Did you get the answer, Nirmit?
Yeah, I just came across one of this requirement where the label was supposed to be changed from geo market to say geo fields, but not able to change it because the impact was huge.
Yes, right. So simple thing what you can do, no, of that same domain, create a Z data element, make your own. See, you know, there is a big problem. Because of the requirement that they want a different field label description, no, we have to create multiple data elements for the same. Create a new data element with your Z1, change the field label, use the same. Okay,
Yeah,
Nirmit?
right. For their specific one, we can just create a new data element and then.
Yeah, right. And also a very common statement to all of you: whenever you are creating ABAP data dictionary object by using SE11, no, whether you are creating a data element or a domain or this thing, please communicate the same to the entire technical team so that they can also reuse the same in case if required, rather than always creating again and again. Also, one thing which you can do, no, Nirmit, for your requirement, just go to SE11. Okay, just go to SE11. In the data type, whatever data element you need, no, suppose example your requirement is for region key example. Okay, so normally we have the habit of defining Z asterisk region key. So suppose I'm just showing you Z asterisk region key, and then do an F4 and search if there is certain data element which is sufficing your requirement, then you don't need to create the same. Got the point?
Yeah, got the point.
Okay, so what all we covered? We covered internal table and work area. Select statement, joins and for all entries, and I'll show you in the next class, along with the read tables and field symbol, and function modules and include program. We'll cover it as a part of the next class because already we have covered 10-14. So because I wanted to go slow today to make you understand these events and all the selection screen. So these are parts we'll take in the next class along with the next week's content. Is it fine for everyone? Okay. So here a lot of background noise. Now before we proceed, let me show you the assignment. So I have again given certain quiz questions which work on the same, and we will discuss on the next week's class. Okay, fine, because some points are yet to be covered. So after we cover that, then we can discuss on these quiz questions. Then the assignment that I have given is that first question that you need to answer me is that what is the difference between add selection screen and add selection screen on field event. This we have already discussed. Still you can further deep down on the same. Okay, design the selection screen as shown in the class. I have given you a glimpse, right? And the below output to be achieved. This is the screen, that a checkbox to be provided, 4 radio buttons and a list box and a selection options. Okay, second thing is that when I execute the same, initially all should be disabled. Okay, the report when I execute, all should be disabled. When I provide the click on this checkbox, all the fields should be enabled and it should come like this. And this should have 2 or 3 options as you want, like Audi, Mercedes, anything. Okay, it should come as a list box. Drop down value should be there. This is your second requirement. Now the third question is, make the changes in the above requirement to display all these radio buttons rather than vertically. I want you to display them horizontally. I want you to display them horizontally. First get the output of this requirement. Then rather than displaying it vertically, I want you to display them horizontally. Then explore select options as I had showed you, like no intervals and no extension. Similarly, you have no display, value request for low or high, and help request and all. So explore all these different variants with the help of select options as an addition and come up with the small use cases for the same. Next question is, create two Z database tables, okay, and then create a database view with the help of the same. Last question is, create a search help by using data dictionary as I showed yesterday, and also there is a concept called search help exit, and come up with an example for the same. Are all the questions clear to everyone? Any doubts on any of the questions? So Virendra, Nirmit, any doubts on any of the questions? Snehal, any doubts? No doubts, right? So I haven't given you much time. It will hardly take you 4 to 5 hours. So if you can break it up like half an hour daily, you can finish it off. So Ramakrishna, as we discussed yesterday, table types are like, suppose if you have got a structure and for that structure you want to have multiple records for that same, right? Now a structure does not contain records physically, but it contains records during runtime. Now for the same structure, if I want to have, suppose a phone number is a structure, okay, now for the phone number I can have multiple phone numbers. So how will I have multiple phone numbers? If I create a table type for that structure, I can have multiple phone numbers for the same, right? So that's why if I create a table type on the top of that structure, I can access multiple phone numbers for the same, and hence we create a table type. Internal tables are created during runtime only. I did not get your question as in how to identify it. Transparent tables are what you have created from SE11. You cannot create in the runtime. And there is nothing called transactional tables. That was transactional was a delivery class. And master data and transactionals comes under your transparent tables only. Those are the different categories, whether you want to store master data or want to store transactional data. You cannot identify that same. And second thing is, internal tables are created during runtime, not as a part of your ABAP data dictionary objects. Transparent tables are created as a part of your ABAP data dictionary objects, whether you create a Z table or whether the standard tables you are using for your requirement purpose. Did you get the point, Rama? Yes, internal tables are used for handling more than work record. Work area is used to hold only a single record during runtime. Clustered and pooled tables, I will not be able to show you through this system. Normally, if you are in a ECC system, maybe you can see I don't have any ECC system, and like I have stopped working on ECC system anyways. So wait. So suppose if you are working on any ECC system and if you provide SE11, there are some tables called like BSEG and all are there, which were earlier pooled and clustered tables. So go to go to extras and go to your what do you say? Sorry. Go to your utilities and go to your runtime object and click on display. When you go to your utilities runtime object and display, here it will show you. But now in S4 all have been converted into transparent tables, most of the tables. So from S4 system it will be very rare that I'll be able to show you. We are sharing the user IDs, Asit. I think it would have been already told by SAP Yard also. So that's why whenever you are logging into system, and also it's a request to everyone. That's why unique student ID nomenclature has been provided to everyone. Please do not delete any one of the objects of anyone, and also kindly follow your unique student ID nomenclature. And also do not touch the trainers any object that I am showing you. You can refer the same, but please do not touch or change it. Is it clear to everyone, guys? Please do not touch or change any of my objects. You can refer the same, but please do not touch or change it. Fine. Any further doubts? Guys, any further doubts, or we can call it a day? Okay, then we'll call it a day. Practice well, stay safe, take care, work on the assignments, and please submit it. Okay, we'll meet next week. Okay, fine then. PVR Harish, match code we don't use nowadays. Let's not focus on the obsolete things. Let's focus on the things which we use on a real-time basis. Okay. Fine then. Take care. We'll catch up tomorrow. Sorry, next week.